Hey there everyone, Mazrock here, and today I'm going to be going over the Warlock talents and abilities. What's changed in pre-patch, what's to come for Shadowlands, and I will be focusing primarily on the Affliction Warlock today. What became baseline, what you can expect as an Affliction Warlock going forward in Mythic Plus and rating, and I'm going to try and do this more from a casual perspective. I haven't been one to try and push keys as hard as I can. I do really like Mythic Plus, so I think I'm more of a casual style player there, but coming in Shadowlands, I'm going to be trying to do a lot more of that. So, basic Warlock baseline. So, here we have curses coming back. Now, this is something I am personally really happy for. So we have the Curse of Exhaustion, which reduces target's movement speed for by 50% for 8 seconds. Curse of Tongues, which slows casting time for casters by 30% for 30 seconds. And we have the Curse of Weakness, a 2-minute debuff that reduces attacks by 20%. This is going to be really big for Mythic Plus and rating. More so in rating, if you can place them correctly without ruining your damage in Mythic Plus, boss fights exponentially. I've been talking with the guild tank and testing these curses out, and they've told me that when the curse is on, they definitely notice a big difference in damage mitigation from, let's say, the enemy attacks happening 20% slower, casting times, things like that. So if you're having trouble with a mob and it's one particular one that's, perhaps it's casting something that's kind of making life difficult for you, put a curse on it. Take the GCD, put a curse on whatever is giving you a little bit of problems. For mobs, for bosses, you should absolutely be putting a curse on things, even if it's just 2 minutes. Your tanks and healers will absolutely be thanking you for that. Curse of Weakness is kind of the go-to, but if there's spellcasters that are giving you problems, perhaps there's a mob healer, go for Curse of Tongues. You will not regret it, and your group will thank you, and that adds to the Warlock utility and diversity that is coming into Shadowlands. Up next, Demonic Circle is baseline. Now, I'm really happy for this. It requires a little bit of pre-planning to where you want to go, so here I put down my circle, and boom. I am back. 30-second cooldown for this, lasts for 10 minutes. Really good if you're in a raid where they are asking you to do extra little things, but it does require pre-planning. So knowing the fights, knowing the dungeons, and that's going to be a common theme that you're going to see with a lot of the Warlock is you gotta know. So when you're running, pay extra attention if you've got casters or if you have to shift from one side of the route to the other quickly. Another thing that I like is, of course, the Demonic Gateway. I can't use that here for some odd reason up top. It won't let me. I totally forgot about that, but it places a gate that allows you to go through it every 1.5 to 2 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, every 1.5 minutes, and that is usable by the party. Again, with pre-planning, this can be really good. Or one area I've used it the most, which is a little silly, is getting my friends unstuck. Sometimes they fall down a cliff or things like that, and they have to do a whole workaround to come back. Throw down a gateway, and they're instantly back up, especially if this happens with a tank, which sometimes it's a pushback, knock effect, things like that. It is a really good ability to have. Corruption is now baseline with Affliction. It is a GCD cast, not 2 seconds, so we're going to go through that when we go through the rotation a little bit more. Shadow Fury is a group stun. It's really just good when properly placed. An entire group stun for big interrupts if you're having trouble, things like that. It's really worth the minute cooldown for that. Although work with your tanks on that, because sometimes they like chain pulling, and you putting down a Shadow Fury can kind of interrupt their chain pulling. But especially used at the beginning of a mob fight before that chain pull is going to happen. That's a really good use for it. Ritual of Summoning, that's always been there. So lock closets, it's just useful, really just useful. Ritual of Doom is back. Now this I got to test out. I'm not gonna lie, it's more flavor than anything, having to make sure that you and 4 of your allies get to summon a Doom Guard. It will take the life of someone, so plan this ahead of time. Then you have to subjugate it really quick, but the problem is it can get it can get loose and start taking out your team as well. Don't precast this before putting your keystone in for Mythic Plus, because when you start the keystone for Mythic Plus, all your demons go away, so you have to restart it. So if you are going to do this for a Mythic Plus run, do it once the keystone is in and the timer starts. It will take some planning with you and your Mythic Plus group, but could be a lot of fun. But be careful, because if it goes away, it can start hurting. Demon time, and this is why I really don't like this is kind of anti-Ritual of Doom for me, is now 5.5 seconds for a summon demon. 4.8 second cast. Sorry, 4.8 second cast for summoning a demon. So if your Ritual of Doom goes away and you don't have a Fell Domination up, now it is only on a 3-minute cooldown. You press this, and then you get to 0.5 second cast and you demon up. So if your demon dies, it's that. But that is on a 3-second cooldown. I think it's more for PvP reasons. But to me in PvE, it drives me up the wall. But that's what it is. Just pay a little bit more attention to your demons in Mythic Plus and raids when they're up, and do a health funnel if you have to. Because a little pip talk here is actually worth about 7 to 8% of my damage. And that's just having it active. So it's really, really worth having your demon up and running, because losing 8% of your damage, that is just something that's there, kind of sucks. So then we go over to the Affliction talents. Now, so here we go here. Nightfall. Nightfall, I've noticed, procs a little bit more, actually. So what it does is corruption damage has a chance to cause your next Shadow Bolt to be instant and deal 50% extra damage. It's kind of one of those things that Shadow Bolt's a filler spell, but it can be worth the GCD if it procs. It is right now kind of simming the best, because Death Bolt is now gone. Inevitable Demise right now is seeing some use in certain places, because there is an Azurite trait that works well with it. But once Shadowlands hit, we're going to see where Inevitable Demise sits. Agony ticks increase the damage of Drain Life, which Drain Life isn't really something you use anyway unless you're in a pinch and you desperately need some health and all of your lock rocks are gone. Drain Soul right now is still one of my favorites. I really do enjoy Drain Soul, and it replaces Shadow Bolt. And what it does, so I'm just gonna so we go to dummy, and it just ticks and drains souls over a period of time. If the target dies while you're drain souling it, you get a soul shard, which is really, really nice. Shadow Bolt, aside from that, is your main spender. So let's see if I can get a corruption proc on there, and I immediately did. See, it procced up, instant cast, more damage. Aside from that, it's 1.4 second cast. But they don't come on too much. Your Seed of Corruption is your corruption spreader. It does cost a soul shard, so use this sparingly when you've got a big group that's close together, and then that way you'll be able to spread your corruptions around really, really easily, really nicely. And again, see, you see that Nightfall proc. I find it's procking more now than it ever was in BFA, and is actually kind of worth it. Agony is another big dot that you need to make sure that is constantly on. So it inflicts shadow damage over 18 seconds. The damage starts low and increases for the duration. When you refresh it, it stays at the same level. And agony damage will sometimes generate a soul shard. Really, really useful to have. Right now, I am talented into Siphon Life, which is kind of my main go-to right now. I do really enjoy that. It's an extra dot, and it siphons life. And I'll explain in a minute why extra dots are very, very useful. So here you have Siphon Life, which is my main go-to. Oh, I didn't talk about the Soul Well, so let's just kind of go back to that. So you can create a Soul Well, Lock Rocks. Everyone's always really happy to have them, and it instantly restores 25% of your health on a 1-minute cooldown. Really, really good to have, and great raid utility. Absolute Corruption is not a bad option at all. I especially enjoy it in phased fights, where Vexiona is a great, and Wrathion are great examples of this. They fly up, you have to run off, and you can't keep dots or hurt them anymore. Carapace is also a really, really good one to have. You place your Corruption, and it doesn't go away. It just starts, and it just keeps dealing damage endlessly, which is really, really nice. So if you're having trouble dot managing, I highly suggest while you get comfortable with the spec, to work with Absolute Corruption first as your main one, and then once you get a little bit better at dot management, you can go over to Siphon Life. Writhe and Agony is a play on a current Azurite trait where the damage starts at 4 stacks and now goes up to 18 instead of starting at 1 and goes to 10. Right now there's an Azurite trait that starts it at 4 but keeps it at 10, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the Azurite trait starts at 4, goes up to 15, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong on that, which we can actually check really, really quick, because sudden onset. So no, it just starts off with 4 stacks. That's all it is. So it starts off with 4 stacks, ends at 10. That one I think might see a little bit more playstyle in Shadowlands. We'll kind of see what's working out there. Then we'll go there. Burning Rush is another movement. So what you do, you activate it. You cannot be slowed. You sacrifice some life and you gain 50% movement speed. It's really, really nice for quick, crazy movement. Although, do worry. Demon Skin is nice, especially in PvP. Where I like it there for some Soul Leech absorption. And Dark Pack sacrifices 20% of your current health to shield you for 250% of the health sacrifice, which is going to be a nice kind of bubble or whatever if you need it. If you're kind of low, you can Lock Rock, Health Stone, then Dark Pact, because that way you're not going to worry about killing yourself. Or if you need to soak something really, really quickly, that is an option that you can do. On the 4th row here, Vile Taint is most definitely your AoE Mythic Plus go-to. What it does is it puts a dot on all the targets within the area. We don't have to deal with AoE caps as a Warlock, so that's really nice, and it applies a slow. Again, just more Warlock utility. Phantom Singularity is your go-to for single target. So what that does, let's change that over here. Nope, I can go here. It 40 second cooldown. It deals quite a good chunk of damage, and it heals you as well. So for single target, and it doesn't cost a soul shard. And it adds an extra dot, which we're gonna talk about that one in a minute. Haunt here is kind of my go-to for Mythic and Raids. It deals anybody affected with Haunt gets 10% extra damage. I just prefer it, and it's an extra dot. Grimoire of Sacrifice, this one I see as more of a PvP talent. It is a dot that works really well. It's less management, but you don't have your pet, so you're kind of hoping on RNG procs. And Dark Caller reduces Summon Dark Glaire's cooldown by 60 seconds. Might see a little bit more play in Shadowlands, but right now we have an Azurite trait that every time you use Unstable Affliction, you get to it drops it down a little bit. Now you don't spam Unstable Affliction as much as you used to, but it's still it's still all right. So I think syncing that up with Dark Soul Misery here, which is your go-to on the last, gives you a good 2-minute damage profile and increases haste by 30 seconds for 20 seconds. If you can time that up with a Bloodlust Time Warp, that's mint. It works really, really well and just makes everything go faster. You go faster, and it's really worth it. If you're forgetting that it's there, Soul Conduit might be a little bit better. And what it does is every Soul Shard has a 15% chance to be refunded. So we're going to talk about Soul Shard spenders in a minute and why this could be good. I'm not a big fan. I've tested it. I just don't feel that I get the procs off it as much as I'd like, and it is more RNG based, where I like having the big bursty damage when I do need it. So this is kind of my go-to setup for Mythic Plus. Rating, I will swap between Drain Soul and Absolute Corruption for the most part, and AoE fights, Phantom Singularity, Vile Taint. Those are my big go-tos, and that's what I like. So I did miss a couple of basic spells. So Unstable Affliction, it deals a lot of damage over 16 seconds right now, and if it gets dispelled, it silences the caster for 4 seconds. This is more of a PvP thing, but it does occasionally proc in PvE, which is nice, because things just happen. Then we go over. Shadow Bolt is your main, your main spammer. When you've got nothing else to do when everything's up, Shadow Bolt. Now, Malefic Rapture is the new ability for pre-patch going into Shadowlands. Your damaging dots erupt on all targets, causing 235 shadow damage per effect. This very much stacks with everything that I just talked about. Agony, Unstable Affliction, Corruption, Siphon Life, Haunt, Phantom Singularity, Vile Taint, all of them. So it just works really, really well. And this, in my opinion, has really fixed Affliction for Mythic Plus and deals a ton of damage. So what I'll do here is I'll put a new Corruption. We'll just kind of start here. I'll dot everything up. Do I have... Oh. Let's put a Vile Taint on there. On my dot. Nightfall went up. So let's keep going. I'll put a Vile Taint up. I will Seed of Corruption to get my corruptions up. And at this point here, I've got 4. And we're just going to see what that damage does here. So right now we've spread that out. And it's not the best test because my corruption's been on there forever. But on average, Malefic Rapture will deal around 25% of my damage. And it works really, really well. I like it. And it makes you think about how you have to approach a mob. Sometimes it's best to get your Vile Taint, spread your corruption, get a couple of agonies up, and a haunt, and not have to worry about dotting all of your dots, and then just spamming Malefic Rapture to bring everything down nice and easily. Sometimes it's best to kind of have every dot on one target, then do your spread, and then Malefic Rapture everything down. But it really kind of makes you have to think about how you're going to dot and how you're going to play every single mob, which I find is a very exciting style of play that really makes you think, and it causes you to have to learn. You learn your dungeons, learn your raids, learn what's best. I carry around the tomes to change around my talents. I usually go into a raid with about 10 of them, because I will change them from fight to fight. Boss to boss, I mean. So some bosses I find the Absolute Corruption's better. Some I find is, is this an AoE fight where I need to be more multi-bursty, or is this single target only? So I will change things accordingly. Your Mastery, which is now a much more useful to have. Now, before it was Haste and Mastery, because your Haste increased your dot ticks. You got more ticks per cast, and per duration, I should say, and Mastery just increased the damage. Before, it was Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, Vile Taint, Unstable Affliction, and Seed of Corruption. But now they've added Malefic Rapture, and this is where Mastery now has a much higher scaling. So now Haste and Mastery are your two main go-to stats, I should state, and they are very, very worthwhile having, because like I said, Malefic Rapture absolutely does increase your damage quite tremendously. So what I'll do here is I'm going to reset the overall data, and I am going to start up my rotation. I'm going to just assume that is a big one with kind of everything that's going on, and then I will start my casting, and just kind of watch your dots. See, you get that nice corruption going on there. You build up your soul shards, and then you spend them, and it deals quite a nice bit of damage. Like, it really, it's a good setup. I really, really like it. It's fun to play. But there is a lot of soul shard management. That is a very big key. So knowing when to cast what is very, very important. So here because of the AoE, my Vile Taint did a lot, but my Malefic Rapture damage is high up there as well. So that's where Vile Taint really comes into play now, and it applies a nice slow. So easier chaining and things like that as you go along. All in all, I am super happy with Affliction Warlock going into Shadowlands. We are bringing a ton of raid utility with the Healthstones, of course, but the Demon Gateways, we are a very zoomy class when planned correctly. If you need like on-demand movement, Yes, you do have Burning Rush in a pinch, but if you can pre-plan where you need to be, those demonic gateways and the teleport are absolutely fantastic for quick getting around. But again, it's all within pre-planning. So if you are the type of player that goes into a fight knowing exactly where you need to put everything and kind of really saving the day, this is definitely a good class for you. So what we will do is, as time goes on, I haven't tested Destruction anywhere near as much as I would like. I kind of got tired of Destruction in BFA a little bit, and when when Affliction got good, I got happy. So I have just been having tons and tons of fun with Affliction. And lastly here, so I don't need to cover really anything else. So I stream on Twitch. We are changing the schedule. It will be every Tuesday, every Wednesday, or Thursday. I'm not decided on that one yet. I will have a full breakdown on that one come next week. It'll be Tuesday and Saturday for sure. Saturday is going to be an earlier time frame. It'll be at 3 p.m. Eastern going into the night, kind of ending probably around 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern, but we'll see how that kind of works out. Check the Etsy shop down below if you would like some dice bags. I'm adding new ones there all the time, and we're going to go from there. Aside from that, have yourselves a good week, and we'll see you next time.